Breaking news: what U.S. officers just found in Floyd Mayweather's house is really scary. That's why Baldwin County Police are hard work after finding a big item amount of money along I-65, and now shocking news has been given out by federal agents uncovered something strange at Floyd. What do you think about Mayweather's house? To talk about this event, write a 1 if a 0 if you're not shocked, or shocked you won't believe it. Watch the movie, and don't forget to click subscribe. Press the button to help the channel. Their eyes are on Floyd Mayweather's good things. Do you remember his brother, who went on trips with a $100 bill? He said he had a $1 million check in his pocket. He didn't even have to cash it. Floyd Mayweather Jr. is now being followed. I might have lost everything. And no, this isn't another statement meant to get people to click private jets and a huge, expensive way of life. Details of fraud lawsuits and a $42 million mess with money. Moneyman could be out of money. Is this the end of the most unpopular kingdom in boxing, or the largest fraud in sports? Floyd. Let's break down history. Mayweather has a lot of money. He was a kid from New Brunswick to New Jersey, and now living in a small one-bedroom flat with 6 people in the family. No heat, no lights, and certainly not silver spoons. His mom had a hard time with addiction. His father, who used to box, Floyd was in and out of jail a lot. Didn't just grow up with boxing, born into it and shaped by survival. My earliest thoughts weren't of titles or cameras, but about darkness and cold. But even in such harsh, Floyd has never cried before. Complained he trained before he went into the 1996 Summer Olympics and won 3rd place. Medal. Floyd worked hard like a winner when he was young. During his life, he was known as Pretty Boy Floyd. Quick and smooth, with great skill and almost impossible to beat in the ring, but he was fighting more behind the scenes, more problems than just his opponents. Even though Floyd was the best, wasn't getting paid what he thought he should have. The company Top Promotion said he was making only a few $1,000,000 a year fight, while his fights were making tens of millions of dollars in sales. It was then all of that changed in 2006. Mayweather did the bravest thing he's ever done. Got out of his deal with Top Rank, for he bet $750,000 on himself in a way of which not many fighters ever had. Breaking free was a dangerous choice. From being safe with a strong admit, he had to build something whole new thing on his own. But Floyd didn't. I no longer want to be a fighter. Want to be a business leader. This was the start. Mayweather got a new business worth a lot of money, Mayweather Promotions. He did all of them, taking charge of his fighting, his image, and most especially his money. From there, his wealth soared. In just a few years, he was making more than $100 million a fight, becoming the most well-paid athlete in the world, and changing the plans for how fighters could make money. But when the money started coming in, the Floyd Mayweather didn't just have problems remake himself, he made the whole boxing business. The good-looking, humble, and soft-spoken, that guy wasn't there anymore in his place. Money. Mayweather, the man with a Bugatti private jet and a $1 million watch collection. It was all filmed and showed off on social media. He draped himself with pride, like armor, going to press talks in fancy suits, chucking money into the crowd as a joke, cold on their opponent's accuracy. And the weirdest thing about it is Floyd became the most hated person in the world in the sport, and that was pretty much the goal. He knew something that there's no need for people to do what champions do. Love you enough to pay to see you. It's better if they don't. The world paid to see him lose, and when he didn't, they kept paying again and again. In terms of business, he became the ideal bad guy, a bad guy you couldn't ignore, and while other people went after titles, Floyd wanted to be noticed. He fought smart. He carefully chose his opponents, won the mind game, and then left every fight with a win and a loss fat pocket. His record is still spotless: 50 wins, no losses. But not in the ring. It got a lot harder to admire someone. Fans praised how great he was at defense, but attacked how showy he was. Commentators dubbed him the smartest fighter of always, while he was questioning his ego. They were the best at self-promotion. But so what people said about Mayweather wasn't just he was a fighter, a lifestyle brand, and he was a living contradiction. He didn't care whether you liked him or not, since while you heard. And they listened with great wealth. Floyd's waist was even worse than his. Not only was the spending crazy, famed for walking into Gucci with $1.5 million in a plastic bag to shut down full shopping malls for just $15. Mayweather lived through a $1 million shopping spree, a man who can't be touched by what happened. It was a shrine on his Instagram to extravagance, showing off a fancy car, fleets of watches with diamonds on them worth more money, and homes than most people own, spread out on hotel beds. Like he once told everyone that his most pricey watch was $18 million. On the other hand, Floyd was counting millions. His relationships began to fall apart. The first crack showed up in his own. Floyd's dad was his first teacher. They admitted in public that they broke up because of Floyd's fame and more money was spent. They used to be very close. But as Floyd's love of money grew, putting more space between them grew. We never fought. His dad said it wasn't until the money came in. No longer about training. It was about how to handle pride and who really deserved the credit. Then there was a lot of trouble with 50 Cent. Was one of Floyd's best friends, and being working partners and being close friends had been the subject of hip-hop news until it fell apart later. 50 Cent told everyone that Floyd had been consumed by money, that doesn't value love or friendship. Their relationship gotten worse because of money problems, with 50 Cent saying Floyd wouldn't return capital and started to treat people like things that they can throw away. This may have been the most painful breakup. Floyd's beloved German Tank Davis, Tank's protege, Floyd, accused Floyd of making him dependent on you on purpose, feeding him scraps to stay in charge. Even though Tank is famous and gets paid to fight, I felt used like a pawn instead of a partner. They made it so that you had to. Tank told everyone, we'll always need them. They look like they're helping, but they're not. Manipulation. These were not the only occurrences. They were signs of a trust fell as Floyd's wealth grew, worn away, and those who used to stand by him started to walk away. His wealth was real, but so was the cost to keep up. And with every there was a house built, and every bridge burned. A bigger question grew. Is this the price of wealth or power? As his bank account grew, so did his ego. There were cheers all around. Mayweather never had the skills we saw, and his pride turned into the main point of discussion, especially when he publicly laughed off boxing stars, like sayings of Ali. In a well-known interview, Floyd boldly said, "Of all the boxers in the history of fighting, I've written more than any other boxer in history." He talked about Ali's losses, such as his losing to Leon Spinks, who only had 7 fights for money, and even things out making it sound like Ken Norton had been better than Ali. In all three of there comes across a point of view that many historians and experts didn't help the backlash happen right away. Stephen A. Smith is one of the most well-known. Some people at ESPN call Floyd's words blasphemous, telling the crowd that leave a heritage that's more than just records about what you believe in. Ali fought not only in the ring, and not in it, for the right to social rights and respect for something more important than himself. Smith said it was only money that Mayweather stood for. Mike Tyson also spoke out, calling Floyd out and telling people that all those who fight have to face Tyson, who has taken the same path of fame, wealth, and solitude. Thinks that the separation from Floyd is so humble that it hurts his friends and family, but also his soul. The people seems to agree. People don't watch Mayweather fights because he admires them. They keep an eye out in case they see him lose. A lot of people see it as a sport for people to cheer against him, as there is no denying the ability in the ring. But besides that, he stands for not check ego. He is now the bad guy instead of only by choice. This story is shocking even more with Floyd's old friend Tank Davis. Tank, his reliable client, didn't just leave ways professionally, he also split up, feeling bad and blaming Floyd of Leon. Her Davis talks about a subtle but persistent control plan that gives just enough to hold someone fast but never enough to make them not dependent. His words were not angry. They were sent with pain, almost like a message to others. The more money he had, the cracks got bigger in Floyd's. Things were getting tense in relationships because of how successful he was, and everyone started to wonder, at what point does legacy end up being secondary damage? Floyd retired in 2017 without losing a match. Mayweather could have quit the fight fame in the sport, but instead he went into a new stage that many think is ruining his reputation. At the time number of exhibition matches from the start, it looked like a good idea. Fight with a Japanese kickboxer Tenshin Nasukawa was followed by a fight in public with YouTube star Logan Paul. These fights made you money. Many people in the fighting community think of them as a show, and leave your thoughts. And what do you think? Tell us below. Something about these practice games. Are they making boxing better, or are they just a show? Don't forget to click like, share, and sign up to get updates from next. Movies that weren't competitive there were no real risks, and it felt more like than sports games that make money. People who didn't like Chael Sonnen, a top MMA star who spoke out. A critic said it straight out. Floyd is the fight because he needs the money. Sonnen said Floyd had never made as much money as the news stories said, and that his show after retirement, the games weren't based on desire, but on need. For Eddie Hearn is one of the most well-known, but those who support boxing also went after. He said Mayweather's events didn't matter, saying that they were no longer important to die-hard fans and were no longer capable of getting people to pay for the show numbers that they used to have when Mayweather fought at the O2 Arena in London in early August. Hearn said, "I don't know. In 2023, people who know about the fight things were getting tense after that." About fighter paid Logan Paul in public, he said Mayweather didn't pay him the full amount from their claim to fight. That made people even more worried about Floyd's money problems. Deji is another influential person who had fought Mayweather, also made it seem like the business dealings with money were not as smooth or skilled as fans would like things to expect from a past world champion. These weren't just a few claims. Brought out a deeper pattern. Critics started asking, how much money do you have? Floyd, have you paid your staff? The more stories like this came out, the more people began to wonder as to whether Mayweather's fixation on money had been taken out of a business. Change your plan into something more desperate. What started out as a move to gain power own kingdom now looked more and more like harm in charge. Behind the flash of private jets and title belts, our ominous signs started to show up. In 2023, there was a report in Insider that closely looked into Floyd's real estate claim superiority, while Mayweather he said he owned more than 60 buildings. The study showed that a lot of these homes were co-owned or paid for by complicated deals, and his real share of ownership was a lot less, more than he had advertised. The piece and asked whether Mayweather was making up his assets to keep his company alive. Then came the claims of $42 million in fraud about the support of cryptocurrencies that Floyd agreed with a move that the SEC's attention while Floyd said he did nothing wrong. There were judicial and financial consequences. A lot of interest, and continued to help the story go on. The kingdom might be hollow. Might have been the weirdest part was it was said that Floyd was stuck in Dubai because of bills not paid online. The story got a lot of attention quickly because fans thought Floyd was being held captive abroad. But then all of a sudden a TikTok went global with Mayweather on it. Sitting in the stands at a Clippers game in Los Angeles, the internet went crazy. Was the Dubai story wasn't true? Was it an attempt to hide something? Floyd wasn't put in the VIP area, right? Of the stadium, that night still not clear. Some people think the Dubai, some people think his claims were fake. Quietly solved a legal problem before making his return. One thing is for sure, these kinds of stories would have been impossible when he was at the top of his work life. After that, Kale dropped the bomb. Sonnen, in a conversation, Sonnen said that even with all the talk about $100 billions and a million nights of work, Floyd may have only made a few $100 million in net profit all through his whole career. This was a shock different from the story Floyd had made up, but it was backed up by the huge costs of his way of life, the group of people with the lawyer costs and pay will never end. All of a sudden, the kingdom that looked like it unbeatable starts to show signs of where Mayweather may have made the most money. Fighting history. But did he also, Floyd, build a house of cards? In the past, people watched Mayweather's fights as culture events. Big nights that brought people together, celebrities, sports fans, and regular people with the same goal. To watch Floyd win, or even better, to finally see him lose. Those bright nights look like not even a dream from long ago. In the past few years, Mayweather has fully switched to private exhibition matches, open fights that don't follow the rules between games and shows, but where fans used to pay a lot of money to watch him box. The buzz has died down. His 2023 British reality TV show, in a practice match, star Aaron Chalmer at the famous O2 Arena in London was very different from the shows that sold out of the past. The crowd was so small that many parts of the field were still empty. Even though there was a lot of advertising, people like Eddie Hearn said they didn't know anyone who knew that the fight was even on pay-per-view. Ticket sales were a small part of what they used to be. The difference was glaring. The man who used to be the main events that broke records is now failing to fill a space. Worse, questions about Floyd's the true health of the economy has started going around like never before. How could a man who says he made more than $1 billion in his career and still be battle ready for a quite small amount of money against unknown opponents? Well-known names. In the alarm has been heard by Combat Sports. Chael Sonnen has asked many times Floyd makes money, which suggests that a lot of the story about the millionaire is made up because business value instead of true. Sonnen and Floyd's website says your take-home pay could be around $0 million after taxes for team costs, maintenance, and luxury prices for a lifestyle. When you think about Mayweather supposedly spent $1 million every month just to keep his cars in good shape, private jets, and staff, it's time to do the math to add up, and not in a good way. Besides, there was the issue in Dubai, with reports going around that Mayweather was being held in the UAE because he hadn't paid debts. The claim was quickly shot down after someone on TikTok saw him on the court at an NBA game. But the fact the story was true for so many people, the public's trust in Mayweather's money problems have been worn away. especially among his fans. The man who worked for years to make a picture of endless wealth suddenly looked open to attack. Then, that the question came up over and over in the comments. He sold the dream on message boards and in fan groups of money, but was it all just a show? When you take away the glitz, the flash of Gucci and high-end watches, what does Floyd Mayweather leave behind in the ring? His record can't be broken: 50 no losses or wins. He fought tough opponents in a number of. He made it to the top of his weight class and made champions of the world look like beginners. His ring IQ and defense skills changed how people saw boxing. A tech in an event that is often dominated by Floyd Mayweather is a man of raw power. Without a question, one of the best boxers to ever live. But the scene gets better. Outside the ropes, darker, he changed the way business is done. Of boxing? Yes, he became the model in order to be financially independent in a sport well known for abuse. But when he got to the peak of fame and wealth for himself, friendships began to fall apart. Broke down under the weight of money from the lie 50 Cent told to the sad to say goodbye to Tank Davis, who went from following him to pointing out the flaws in his private life. Became more clear he had with his father after the base of his success was shaky, because business is full of power battles, and pride partners with sports fans, and even other players grew wary of Floyd's bluster, and for many boxer fans can't stand how hard he works.